I'm Will Schroeder. My opponent, Daniel Cameron, is running a shameful negative campaign. I'll work with President Trump to build the wall and build it now, to keep illegals, drugs, and crime out of Kentucky. And I'm the only Republican for Attorney General who's actually tried a case and worked with law enforcement to put criminals behind bars.
Crime fighter, conservative Trump Republican, husband, father, Christian. Will Schroeder for Kentucky Attorney General.
So that first clip was from Will Schroeder. Will Schroeder is running on the Republican ticket to be the Attorney General for Kentucky. And Will Schroeder did not take kindly to the shit talk, dirty politics of Daniel Cameron. Daniel Cameron is using the Southern strategy. He's using dirty politics, which is very consistent with the culture that Mitch McConnell has brought to Kentucky for the last 30 years. He's the Mubarak of Kentucky. Now, Cameron and Will Schroeder are the only two candidates for Attorney General, and I think that Daniel Cameron called Will Schroeder a Democrat, and then Will Schroeder just lost his shit.
It's a cheap shot. The truth?
There are 4 Republican candidates for the governor of Kentucky right now, running against the incumbent, running against Matt Bevin, including Robert Goforth. Now, in spite of having a rape, sexual assault allegation hanging over his head during this campaign, he is actually really giving it to the governor. He's the only one who's pointed out that Kentucky has spent $400 million in pension fund managers. Meanwhile, kids in Pike County are drinking Mountain Dew because they don't have any running water. Here's a clip of Robert Goforth.
Much for coming.
Thank you for having me, man.
So it's very rare for a sitting representative to challenge a member of his own party that's an incumbent for the governor's seat. What made you decide to do it?
Well, that's what I've heard, and why I'm doing it is I've traveled all over Kentucky talking to Kentuckians, and they tell me they want to change. They want to change. They want something different than what they have right now. People feel like currently we have a corporate first agenda that only focuses on breaks for white-collar, corporate-first CEO elitists.
So this video is about the 4 candidates who are running for the agricultural commissioner. You have 2 Democratic candidates and 2 Republican candidates, which means both Republicans and Democrats have a choice when it comes to who they want to be their next agricultural commissioner. For the GOP, for the Republicans, you have the incumbent, Ryan F. Quarles of Georgetown, and Georgetown has the spirit of Chief Plucky, that Mingo warrior, haunting over it. So Ryan F. Quarles is the incumbent, and he's running against Bill Poliniak of Lexington. So check out Bill Poliniak.
You mentioned your son, so if you don't mind expounding on that.
So in 2014, my son at the age 3 was diagnosed with idiopathic generalized epilepsy. The only solution, long story short, the doctors had for him was addictive pharmaceuticals. They gave my son so many pharmaceuticals, and I saw so many changes go through my son that we see many other kids: the rage, cognitive delays, depression, increased epilepsy. To one day he was almost complete, just a few hours away from complete organ failure. So that led me to research, and that led me to learn that CBD, cannabidiol, which is the main ingredient in hemp, is helping people with neurological issues. The thing is, though, it's just not CBD. All these cannabinoids work together to modulate our endocannabinoid system. So we brought that here, and that's how I was speaking of. In 2014, I got a meeting with then Commissioner Jamie Comer, and he blessed me when he gave me the 5th hemp pilot program, and that was for specifically cannabinoid research, because at that time, we were laughed at. On that first year's application, we didn't even have a box to check, because nobody was talking about cannabidiol.
So Bill Poliniak of Lexington, he looks like a movie star, a Hollywood movie star, bona fide from Kentucky. Are you sure? Meanwhile, you got Ryan Quarles, and he's got an interesting face. Are you sure he's from planet Earth?
It's understood, a plant that my great-grandfather grew during World War II when the U.S. Navy needed rope, and we brought it back to life. And the best part about it is that there's hundreds of jobs that exist today that simply did not exist a couple years ago because the Commonwealth decided to bring back a crop back from the dead, and we're making money, we're creating jobs, and we're creating an environment of innovation right here in our state.
And
now, there's a bunch of good things about Robert Haley Conway. He's an 8th-generation farmer. He's got the farm with his son right now. They have 70 head of cattle. Robert Haley Conway is a farmer, so of course he's going to fight for farmers. He says he's not going to use the agricultural commissioner job as a jumping off point to the governor's seat, which is good. If you're going to be the agricultural commissioner, I want you to be the best goddamn agricultural commissioner that you've ever been. I don't want you to use that as something, to go somewhere else. No, I want you to just love agricultural and commission and just be the best goddamn agricultural commissioner on the face of the planet. So Robert Haley Conway is a farmer from Georgetown. He's on the Soil and Water Conservation Board. He said he handled $1 million, some capital firm, and a bunch of employees. The political things that he's done, he's on the Soil and Water Conservation Board in Scott County. Soil and Water Conservation Board are the only positions that an 18-year-old in Kentucky can even run for. 24 is when the door starts to open up for more of the important seats. So Robert Haley Conway was the former chair to Scott County High School Board. And Scott County has a budget of $62 million. Their public schools get $62 million. And in spite of Scott County being a wealthy county with a great basketball program, 40% of the kids are on free and reduced lunch. So he said a lot of interesting things. His platform is he wants to make family farms profitable again, and he wants to attract more young people into farming. That's essentially it. The interesting things, he said average size of Kentucky farm is 100 to 200 acres. He also admitted that Kentucky farmers are dependent on migrant workers. So again, the two planks on his policy platform is he's going to make family farms profitable again, and then he's going to attempt to attract more young people into Kentucky farming. Here's a clip of Robert Haley Conway.
We had 83,500 farms. Right now we have 75,800 farms, and they're leaving here fast. Kentucky has 25.4 million acres. 51% of it is farmland. 13 million acres is actually what we crop. Where I was going to go with it is as far as Commissioner Quarles. And I don't want to speak ill about him because he's a friend. But I want to operate different in the Department of Agriculture. The Republican Party, and I don't want to make this, personally, if it was a perfect world, the Department of Agriculture would not even be a political office. I think it's too important to be political. Too many people's lives depend on what it is that they do. But to be very honest about it, the last 16 years, the Commissioner of Agriculture has been a young Republican that has used that office as a stepping stone to bigger things. I don't choose to do that. I don't want to be governor. I don't want to be senator. I want to be Commissioner of Agriculture in the state of Kentucky.
So Robert Haley Conway is one of the Democrats who are running for agricultural commissioner. The other person who's running against him is Joe Trigg. So for the Republicans, you got to pick between Poliniak or Quarles, and for the Democrats, you got to pick between Conway and Trigg. Now, Joe Trigg is, I dig Trigg, Joe Trigg. He was born in Glasgow, November 26, 1958. He's a Glasgow city councilman. I believe Diane Sawyer is from Glasgow. He is a farmer. He milked cows, raised tobacco. He's an Air Force veteran. He's an author. He's been endorsed by Wendell Berry. Wendell Berry has endorsed Joe Trigg. Wendell Berry is the famed Kentucky poet. Joe Trigg was an early member of the Kentucky Proud program. Joe Trigg supports the medical marijuana bill, but he has some concerns. He wants medical marijuana to be controlled by the Department of Agriculture and not ABC, the Alcohol Bureau of whatever. So he wants to legalize hemp and medical marijuana. And he wants to use the old tobacco quota system for hemp and medical marijuana. What Joe Trigg sees is that essentially everybody that's getting into hemp, they are excluding small family farms. So the only people making any money off of hemp in Kentucky are your large industrial farms. So he wants to bring hemp production to all Kentuckians, all Kentucky farmers at least. And he wants to bring medical marijuana to all Kentucky farmers too. So medical marijuana, hemp, that is where the money is going to be, and it should be distributed with the tobacco quota system, so that way everybody gets, an apportionment, and you have to buy into the thing, and it's fair. So he has some experience with hemp production, but he just got approved for hemp production this year. So Joe Trigg, he is so smart, he even points out that Netherlands, he's using Netherlands as a compare and contrast. He says that the Netherlands is the second number 2 greatest farm exporter in the world. And they're 1/3 the size of Kentucky. Their average farms are 42 acres. So in these 42-acre farms in a place that's 1/3 the size of Kentucky, they're the number 2 greatest farm exporter in the world. So whatever the hell the Netherlands are doing, Kentucky needs to be doing too. Here's a quick little clip of Joe Trigg.
And tell us why you're seeking this office. I understand that you thought about running for governor. So why did you change your mind from that, and why do you think you're a good fit for the agriculture commissioner post?
Well, a lot of the questions that I was asked were based more along the agriculture line. So as you're walking the path looking for a way to go, this is the path that came to me. So I'm happy to be going this way. I did an article a few months ago about hemp being a small farmer's lifeline.
Along with medical marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that.
And I hope that to use that as a foundation to help bring back income to small farmers.
Right.
Joe Trigg also points out that most migrant workers are not actually using the H-2A system, where they would get paid $12 an hour, but they're on the other program where they get $5 to $10 an hour. So both candidates point out that migrant workers are essential to farmers. Joe Trigg points out that renewable energy can really revitalize Kentucky farms. He says, just imagine if every farm had one windmill and all the major rooftops had solar panels. Imagine the load off the grid with just one windmill and solar power on top of rooftops. So Joe Trigg is calling for wind, solar, and methane gas to be developed on Kentucky farms. He also points out that there's food deserts, so he wants to get the farm goods from Kentucky farms to the people. And he points out that every farm has a garden that produces more vegetables than the family actually uses. So therefore, the production is there. You just have a coordination failure with getting it to the communities. Here's another clip of Joe Trigg.
Here, Mr. Trigg, I'll give you a few moments to introduce yourself and tell us about your background.
My name is Joe Trigg. I'm from Glasgow, Kentucky. I'm a first-generation farmer. We have a 50 cow beef operation, and we have 2 greenhouses where we raise some vegetables, and we have produce stands where we sell vegetables on the side. I'm retired from the military. I did about 30 years in the Air Force. Reached the rank of Chief Master Sergeant, which is the highest rank. My leadership and management skills are based on diverse operations around the world, and I think I can bring that to the Department of Agriculture.